always hope.
All right, this is Dark Days Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Mike, and really excited to be here for yet another episode. Today, I'm joined by, of course, Chris.
Hello.
And joined by Crystal as well.
Hello.
And then coming on the show to talk to us about the hit new RPG Doomsong is also Chris Caesar. How's it going, other Chris?
Hello. I almost said hello at the wrong Chris. I was really surprised to be introduced first. I was like, that doesn't seem...
Yeah, we didn't really talk about this beforehand, but we should probably figure out how to refer to the two of you.
Dibs on Chris 1.
Right, here we go. And then we can have we can also have Chris Original Draft as well.
For, OC.
Proto Chris.
All right. So, yeah, it's been a little while since we were here on the show. We did our 3-parter for Cult, and then I guess primary podcast show, Chris. You ran into other Chris, and we're talking about Doomsong and told us all about it. And dang, it just seems pretty dope, and really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, it's been on my radar since I think most gaming websites have obviously spoken about it. Obviously, Chris, you were interviewed on the Jugs podcast, like early on, because obviously where your office space, it made it quite easy for them to grab you to interview.
Yeah, it was about a year ago, I think.
Yeah, so, and I met you in person basically because I was dropping off some really, really old Hammer Minis with Louise Sugden and then Chris's co-writer, co-creator, and why can't I think of the name right now? It's on the tip of my tongue. Who was it, Chris? What's the name? Who else is in your team? There's yourself, and then...
well, it would have either been Morgan or Jack.
So it was Morgan, yeah.
Yeah.
So Morgan walked out and went, "You're Dr. Ethan." I was like, "Yes." And it was like, "What does this mean?" And it's like, "Oh, because you do the Kingdom Death video." So I was like, "Oh, wow." And recently on my Facebook, memories, it's now 9 years since I first went over to On Tabletop to do those Let's Play videos of Kingdom Death, which is like crazy. So yeah, and then it was a brief conversation because obviously it was a flying visit, and then it was like, yeah, we should definitely interview because it's our kind of jam, as we want to cover more and more diverse horror RPGs on the show. What else is going on? So we did our cult videos. Obviously, I've been putting out a lot of how to play or introductions to the setting of War Machine. That's going quite well. I've also done a short series of Warhammer the Old World with Hamilton over at Theatre Macabre. So the second episode is now out. That's a lot of fun. And then gaming news stuff coming out. Wrath and Glory Sons of Rust is coming out soon, which is the player's book for Space Wolves. Dark Tide Extraction that I worked on is now a virtual tabletop module. I'm working on something else with Wrath and Glory, which I cannot say other than it's for Wrath and Glory. Crystal, you've got stuff coming out soon.
Yeah, so I actually totally forgot War Drums, which is the collaboration between Tim, David, and myself, which is a Vaesen scenario, is out now on Drive-Thru RPG. I didn't do any writing for it. I did the editing and development for it, and then Tim did the editing, and David did all of the writing. It is very, very cool. It's Vaesen's a very different game, and it was the first time I worked with it. And it was really cool. I liked it. I'm looking forward to that. And then I
Oh, very good.
also, hopefully soon, will have Cyberpunk Night City coming out through our Telsorian. And
Excellent.
I helped to write on that.
Ah. And also, event-wise, I am going to
Oh yeah, I have
Dragon
events too.
Meet at the end of November to run a demo of Trash Humanism. So that's going to be good because Dragon Meet's moving to a new location, which is the Excel Center. So it's going to be bigger than ever. So that's exciting. I think there's some events coming up soon where Trash Humanism is going to be demoed. So that's good.
That's awesome.
The website's live, which is crazy. It's real. That's weird. Anything else event-wise? It's like PAX
Yeah.
Unplugged or PAX something
So-
going on there?
Gamehole Con is technically on this recording next week, which is October 16th through the 19th.
Yeah.
And I'm a special guest there, so I'll be there, and you can, come talk to me or come play in the games that I'm running.
Wicked.
And PAX U is going to be in November, and that is, when is that?
November 21st.
Yeah,
I know that because I'm going to be there.
Yeah, you're going to be there. I can't be there because there is absolutely no hotels open in the whole city.
Nope.
So,
I'm staying like a 30-minute walk away in a bad neighborhood. So let's hope it all works out for me. And
Jesus,
Okay.
Mark.
yeah, it'll be okay. Maybe.
Uber, please.
Yeah. So I'm actually gonna be running a bunch of stuff with Puka from Changing the Podcast and Jenna, who's been on Mage Podcast quite a bit, and there's going to be a variety of games that we're doing, but I'm actually going to be doing Promethean the Created and Werewolf the Forsaken, because I've always wanted to run those games, but never had I just never did it before. So I figured now's the time to get that checked off the old bucket list.
I can't wait to hear about your games for those, because that's going to be wild.
Yeah. Promethean's not really set up for one-shot play, so this is going to be pretty interesting.
That really is not.
Well, and PAX U has traditionally been people wanting to discover RPGs, and so you're going to get a lot of players who don't think inside the box, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, certainly, and definitely. Chris 1, I'll be looking around for any Doomsong games going on. Definitely give you a heads up about that, because there's a lot of different stuff at PAX Unplugged, and certainly I hope to see some Doomsong going on as well.
Yeah, any movement we can get in the US is always very exciting. It's so far away and so expensive to send stock that, like,
yeah,
there's like a small number of people who are
sorry about that.
Yeah.
Right. With, I guess, game updates, game news, and stuff going on out the way, I guess we can get into the main topic, which is talking about Doomsong and what's out already for it, and then what will be coming to Kickstarter soon. So I guess we hop into the main topic then. Right. Okay, Chris. So to get started on this, like, how did the team come together in the first place? Like, kind of like, or what kind of like formative kind of gaming experience did you have? Because that surely, has some way of shaping how Doomsong is and what it is and where it's going.
Yeah. Well, the team is myself. We all have, it's a small company, so we all have like fingers in pies all over the place, and nothing is kind of solely any one person's jurisdiction. But I mostly oversee art and design, product design and layout. And then Jack Caesar, my brother, does the rules writing and the sort of the mathsy bit, as well as anything vaguely business related that I just doesn't compute in the way that I interact with the world. And then my partner Morgan is the writer, who sort of is at the helm of the lore and the sort of adventures sort of how they pan out and how they affect the broader world and stuff. And it sort of started coming together about like maybe 7 years ago, I think. Jack and I were working for a company called Riverhorse.
Yeah.
And we kind of, our first published RP, because we'd both sort of done, we both had our own sort of chain of indie flops before working for Riverhorse. Yeah, so we kind of cut our teeth on the My Little Pony role-playing game, which is actually very cool. Yeah, was
It's
really
actually
interesting.
a really good game.
Yeah, rules-wise, it's sort of simple enough. It hits a really interesting balance. I think a lot of what we did at Riverhorse, because it was IP games, was about taking what for gamers is quite a sort of like gamers sort of capacity for crunch is much higher than say children.
Yes.
Or even like the main fan base of Pacific Rim. Like we made the Pacific Rim war game, which sort of had to, you want it to have all of the same outputs as a big crunchy game with a thick rule book, but you don't want someone to put the book down because it looks confusing at first. So we spent years kind of working in this space where sort of the project would expand until it does what you want, and then you have to start amputating chunks off of it until it's really good. There's a probably going to attribute this to the wrong person, but there's like a Mark Twain quote that's like, "I would have written you a long letter." No, what was it? Oh shit. Yeah, sorry, I would have written you a shorter letter, but I didn't have time. I think that's the quote, right? The point being that like editing a shorter thing is actually more difficult than doing something sort of big and rambly. And so, yeah, we worked on the My Little Pony role-playing game for a while. We did the Labyrinth, so the David Bowie, Jim Henson Labyrinth RPG with Ben Milton, and then we did the Dark Crystal one as well, based off of that. And then we sort of, in the background of that, Morgan had just sort of finished doing countless degrees on mythology and stuff and creative writing, and had sort of gotten pretty fed up with the academic writing scene and needed an outlet for some sort of creativity. And so she started writing a systemless RPG called Lord Have Mercy Upon Us. The idea being that it was a completely rules-free adventure that people could just, whatever, you like 5e, play it in 5e. It's just the adventure with no sort of rules tacked on. But that sort of was approaching finishedness round about the same time that Jack and I were like trying to work out whether or not we should stay at Riverhorse or whether it was kind of time to build something for ourselves. Because whilst working for a company that like buys licenses and stuff, like you feel a lot more stable. But you aren't kind of like building your own little empire, which is sort of where we ended up going. So we decided to jump ship, and we thought the first thing we would do was create a rule set that worked for Lord Have Mercy Upon Us, and then kind of release them both as a combination of book and adventure. And that sort of brings us right up to the last Kickstarter that we did.
Okay, and it's interesting because, like, for context for people who mostly aren't aware, like Riverhorse was created by Alessio Cavator, who used to work at Games Workshop. Yeah, and at one point was like lead developer of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. So that's quite a cool person to obviously work for and learn things from, I guess.
You have lived my dream. The Labyrinth is my all-time favorite movie, so the fact that you got to work on that RPG is just awesome.
It was the Labyrinth itself was a really interesting RPG to work on, because it's the same with Dark Crystal. Like, they're these amazing fantasy worlds that have actually had quite a lot of development in that space. I don't know if you've ever read the Labyrinth manga.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So trying to that was always what we did. But every time we got an IP, was trying to really deep dive into how much work's already done for me. It's essentially how many ideas don't I have to come up with because someone's already filled a crazy book with crazy ideas. And I think the time spent at Riverhorse was really good. Getting to, because we did a lot of work for other companies as well. So Riverhorse, like Caesar Inc. now does, sort of provided services for Dragon Bond and Warlord and Mantic as well. So we were kind of in a position where we sort of got to learn from a lot of those kind of old guard type people.
Cool. And then so I guess then what kind of previous kind of games as you grew up and dabbled with various game systems, what kind of games would you say were the main kind of formative experiences in your kind of history of gaming, whether it's war games or board games or RPGs?
Well, so I probably didn't play a war game or an RPG by the rules written in the rule book until I was in university. So we had a Hero Quest box that didn't have a rule book in it as kids.
Oh, wow.
Actually, I think it was Advanced Hero Quest. It had the Skaven in it and the tiles that you could. And honestly, give me some rat men and some tiles, and the game just comes naturally. That's the. And then Lord of the Rings came out, and sort of that was when we started making up our own wargame rules, which actually, while I was working at Riverhorse, was a funny point of contention that sort of came up once, was that our childhood had been spent playing the Lord of the Rings wargame, but not by the rules, and now we were working for the guy who'd written the rules that we'd thrown in the bin.
The same rules that I ran. Countless demos and Sunday starter games at GW4. That was Lord of the Rings was all the rage and wasn't my favorite thing at the time, but a war game anyway. Okay, cool. And then you said at university then started playing some of the games. Started playing games a bit more by the rules. Was it just kind of D&D, or were there other particular highlights?
Well, I had the benefit of befriending a goth at university, so I played quite a lot of Vampire the Masquerade.
Brilliant.
Which, I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, but Vampire the Masquerade is, I think, the funniest game ever written.
I would say yes. From the perspective of it is dark humor for sure.
It is.
I think the more seriously a setting takes itself,
the funnier it gets.
The funnier it gets, because as soon as you burst that bubble of seriousness, it's very funny.
I have distinct humorous anecdotes of sitting in a very dark room with a bunch of goths playing Vampire the Dark Ages, and we are, I would just say, intoxicated, pretending to be vampire priests, or I think one person was playing a Cappadocian. I was a Malkavian who was aspiring to be a member of the Church of Cain. And so we were having rather intoxicated in-character conversations about the nature of the divine nature of vampires. Yeah, so I totally get what you're talking about.
Vampire characters and NPCs tend to be so over-the-top, villainous, cartoony that when you cram an entire room full of them, you can't help but see the humor in it. They just burst everybody's bubble of villainy at that point, and it's which Voltari song are we going to have Elysium 2 today?
So I think it must have been fourth. I think it was fourth edition D&D, which another controversial opinion is I think my favorite version.
Mike's favorite edition, isn't it, Mike?
No.
I thought you said you liked fourth edition.
No. I like. I think I would play second edition most for D&D games. Although you have to adjudicate quite a bit. But fourth edition D&D I think has had a bit of a resurgence, and a lot of game designers really love it. And I think that's one of the interesting things that kind of stands out is how much people who actually make games really like D&D fourth edition. So I think that's a feather in your cap there, Chris. One.
It's because fourth edition D&D was the game that everybody wanted but didn't know that they wanted, and so it came too early. Because fourth edition is pretty much 5e.
Well, I think
there's a lot of design similarities.
Yeah, I don't know how much of this is actually hearsay or not, but apparently it was designed. So World of Warcraft was quite big. I don't know if anyone remembers World of Warcraft.
Oh yeah.
And so Wizards were really worried about online play taking away Dungeons and Dragons forever. If you want to be a dwarf, you just go play World of Warcraft. So they designed it with virtual tabletops in mind, which is why it's so maps and movement and stuff based. And then they never built the tabletop and simulation
to go with it. Yeah.
So it just sort of was like, huh.
Whereas now they're trying to do that with cruddy Gen AI thrown in for added slop.
It was the edition that everybody wanted but didn't know that they want at the time, and so it just kind of went by the wayside because people who didn't understand design didn't know what to do with it, and it kind of became a joke then at that point because they're like, what do we do with this game? We don't know what to do or go with it from there.
Isn't it? I think it was even you, Mike, or I think it was James actually who said it's like it's really tight with respect to like how you run combats. There's no, the vagaries in it are removed that you typically find in other editions of D&D. Like it's a really good combat system and how you deal with that. It was just the bits outside of that, which is where it kind of didn't gel with people. I think that was the issue they had.
Yeah, that's definitely a correct statement. It really gets rid of the vagaries. Remember how I just said, I like AD&D second edition, but you have to adjudicate quite a bit. That doesn't happen with fourth edition. It is very tightly designed and very mathematically designed in ways that some other editions haven't been. So it is pretty interesting.
But and if you're playing online, if you're playing like in a virtual tabletop, you're probably playing with strangers, and having the combat be fair and balanced is like probably quite an important part of not having that immediately explode.
This sounds like exactly the difference between Full Metal Fantasy Edition of Iron Kingdoms versus first and third edition of Iron Kingdoms, which drive off D&D, because again it's like really tight combat system, but then when you build out from it, the RPG side kind of feels not as well accommodated in some respects, and it's like, well, do you really need rules for all these various things? Which might be the point of where we get into how Doomsong's built as well. So what's your so I was going to say, so also what other kind of experiences do you have that kind of build into how you've learned and developed RPG? So as you said, like Morgan's got this background in various academic degrees in mythology, and you yourself, at university, what was it? Were you also doing something kind of artistic, or was it more kind of social?
Yeah, so I did animation.
Oh right, okay.
So I set out wanting to do animation, and then figured that drawing 12.5 frames a second to animate a thing was a lot of work. So I decided to do comics. And then I was like, drawing comics is actually too difficult. I'll design games instead. Yeah, which has
Because
sort of
that's
ended
really
up,
easy.
yeah, really easy. So it sort of ended up being a weird, very useful skill. With
Yeah.
the Riverhorse business model was like, do a Kickstarter, and all Kickstarters now need like really good
Yeah.
animated videos, which sort of weirdly ended up being sort of a key part of my job as graphic designer and games designer and animator. Like I said, Riverhorse was also a very small team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I did animation, and Jack did engineering,
Right.
which I
Yeah.
guess leads into rules design. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds right. I can have empathy for that. Okay, cool. That's great. So I think that covers like the whole introduction there, and kind of gives a good grounding for like for why create Doomsong. So I guess that leads us into what the hell is Doomsong at its core. Crystal or Mike, I mean, I think, do you want to kind of like start us off? Like, what was your first impressions of it, and let's see how closely our impressions fit with the design brief and intentions, because that's always interesting. It's like here's the book. How did you interpret it? And is that the intention? It's always interesting.
So, are you asking us to both describe Doomsong, and then we'll see if Chris, the writer's
agrees with the message? I think it's quite interesting, because there might be things that we've missed that might be that, obviously, because we've been reading at some speed for preparation of this, then there might be some other elements we might have skipped over.
So, in a world with fantasy set in a pre-printing press Europe, the guilds are a powerful aspect which your doomed characters will work for. And in addition to that, this world has basically both, it's heaven and hell put together. It's called well, there's Heal, which is kind of the afterlife aspect, wherein basically your characters are being pulled whether towards a kind of evil gods and good but also evil gods, and kind of being stuck in the middle. And that's where kind of the magic comes from. Is that a good way of describing it, just kind of off the cuff?
Yeah, I think that's in for sure.
Crystal, what did I miss? What were your other first impressions?
So I'm not going to be as dramatic as you. Sorry. you have this way, Mike, of like making everything like super cinematic, and I love it. One of the things that I actually really, really loved about the design of this book and the role-playing game in general is that it emphasizes heresy, in that you have magic all throughout everything, but magic is basically wrong, right? In the eyes of everybody that's in charge, magic is wrong. However, you have, star signs, moon phases, festivals for throughout the seasons and everything like that. You have a whole book on herbs and fungus and everything like that. And that all leans into witchcraft and magic and alchemy and everything like that. So you're like, you're not supposed to be doing this. Here's how you do it. And and then like all of the guilds that are, or a lot of the guilds that are in there, lean heavily into different aspects of applying those magics. And so like you're basically saying you're trying to outlive the Inquisition, and you're not going to, but here's what you can do.
Yeah, I think
that's pretty
good. It definitely, a big part of it is like the book and the setting is always sort of wagging its finger, sort of like don't get powerful. Don't do it.
Don't talk about the thing, but do the thing. Just don't talk about it.
And that's sort of a fun space to play in, where it's like and there really aren't good guys, but the ecclesiarchy.
Nobody's good in here.
Yeah, so you've got like the ecclesiarchy who run everything, and it's sort of in the final days. So the villain of the first book, Lord have mercy upon us, is Pestilence, the first horseman. And our sort of goal as the creators is to get 4 books out, and if players play all 4 books in whatever order they want, the world will be destroyed. Like your each book ruins the world even more until
Brilliant.
it's got this stacking effect, and you're just, you're going from, the Forgotten Realms to Dark Sun over the period of 4 books. That's the dream. Yeah, and it does this sort of, you've got the ecclesiarchy who all worship the dead god. Sort of, you've got the one true god who made a plan for everything, and he was murdered at the beginning of all time. He's called the Immortal, deliberately, ironically. And the church believe he had a plan, and if we just stick to the plan, everything will be fine. But also they get to make up the plan and say whatever the plan is.
That sounds accurate.
Oh, is this some comment on the monotheistic religions of our world?
Yeah, I can't stop commenting on the monotheistic religions of our world, to be fair. They've got a great assortment of hats, though. I think if I had to find one nice thing to say. Yeah, that's about the cut of it.
Yeah, and given certain documentaries that have been out recently, it definitely feels cut from the same cloth that is now termed grimdark. It's definitely has that feel. The other things I liked about it is because it has that feeling of like, your characters are not long for the world. The built-in kind of troop play aspect. So, you're going to build this guild that's going to be a roster of characters, and you're going to cycle through these characters either they'll die or they might be lucky enough to retire, which seems mad, but that might just happen if they're lucky. And yeah, I think it's interesting, Crystal, you pointed out things like the element of like how there seems to be a really well developed aspect of like the not just the mythology, but like the star signs and the calendar and things like the flora and fauna, because it also gives me, you kind of get a feel of like that kind of it's fantastical in its own right. The Voynich manuscript kind of feel to it really stands out. And then linked into this, which is also great because it builds off, again, from RPGs that, I've written for, like the character creation process is this life path system, which is a lot of fun to go through because, we know that quite happily from running Warhammer Fantasy roleplay or Imperium Maledictum or even like Fading Suns. Just there's so much joy in just seeing what the dice create as a character that you are going to end up playing. Those already stood out.
Yeah, it really did. The life path system I thought was really interesting because as opposed to, say, Traveler, or I've seen it in like the MechWarrior RPGs and some other things, what really stood out to me about the life path in Doomsong was how you didn't get to choose how you start, right? You're born, you don't get to choose. But as you go through, there are some kind of bifurcating choices. There's some decision paths that exist in there, which gives you a little bit of agency in figuring out what trajectory your character has. Whether it be, ending up going from the Weald, kind of the wilds of the world, and then ending up as, someone who's of some prominence, or also you could put yourself on a path to go to the dark side, start learning magic, and then maybe just burn to the stake and have to make a new character. So I think there's some really great stuff there. Maybe, Chris, could you kind of comment on how that was developed or some of the inspiration that went into that?
Yeah. So I think the life path system came around because I like horror RPGs. I need to say I like horror RPGs because one of the things about creating games is that games are made out of the things that bugged you in other games, right? and you have to really like something in order to really hate it properly. So horror RPGs, and I'll stop picking on Vampire and go for Mothership. So Mothership as an example, like, and Vampire, your characters are kind of expected to die. That's horror, right? A horror element is this looming threat of death.
Yeah.
But if your characters are the protagonists in the story, it's awkward if they die. And also, that's sort of why the guild thing came about, is because actually, if you're telling the guild story, the guild doesn't die, right? You're actually sort of plotting out this sort of chain of people the guild has just churned up to achieve its goals together, and then you're sort of all shaping what the guild looks like. And then the character creator thing was like, and I think it's not an RPG, but I think Kingdom Death is the worst for this, is the moment after the character you love dies.
Yeah.
You are heartbroken, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And it actually takes like a few sessions. And if you're only playing once a month, that's like 2 months.
It's a lifetime.
Yeah. So it takes a few more sessions for your new character to grow on you and for you to kind of get what they're about. And also, you've probably given them a lot of the same equipment that you gave the previous one. So you've kind of replaced your archer with another archer. And so we wanted to find a way of tricking people into falling in love again after their hearts get broken. And the way to do that was to make the character creator kind of do the work for you. So, like, the choices that you're saying, like, I think one of the good examples of the choices that you get offered in the character creator is, I think someone comes to town collecting salt, they'll give you a silver coin if you join the army. And if you join the army, then cool, you go off and do that. You might get a combat skill, you might get violently wounded. But if you choose to not join the army, you gain the coward trait. And so, like, the choices that you're making are building this. So now you already know that your character's a coward, and also, or they've ended up going to jail and then being forced to join the army, and then they got a medal. And suddenly, like, the medal is probably one of the funniest things in the character creator, because it's completely pointless. It's a completely pointless event in your life if you join the army and then roll a 6. You start the game with a war medal, and every single player that started the game with a medal has been like showing it to people, like they're really proud of it. And I think getting people excited to introduce their new character to the party, and then when they do, the party love that character immediately without you having to spend a few sessions to feel out who they are and work out sort of what their voice is the wrong term, but their kind of like their narrative place within the story is. And it's very difficult to build the same character twice.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, from reading that and other things within Doomsong, like some of the monsters, I was like, yeah, I can see where Kingdom Death kind of like spews in some of its horror. Likewise, we've had this, like, I think every time we've run anything, and also with the stream I've done, the recordings I've done recently, every player has randomly generated their Warhammer character, because again, it's like, yeah, you might have a good idea in mind, but players do, like it or loathe it, or we try not to. We always do tend to kind of like steer towards a few particular archetypes, whereas like there is an absolute joy in Warhammer, at least, to roll up and say, oh, they're doing this time. And so likewise, Doomsong has that kind of like happy fortune, happy coincidences that happen where you something like, my character's absolutely nails, but is absolutely shit at something else, and that's going to be a problem.
And the other thing it allows you to do is you can control things like how many magic users are going to be in the party.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's kind of like 1 in 8 people, 1 in 8 characters. Kind of, I think that is not the actual statistic. I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass.
But it stops everyone being a Jedi. Like, that's the problem. If you're trying to do Star Wars, everyone's a Jedi. You're like, well, there's more to Star Wars than bloody Jedi. You know,
but you can roll a saint. Like, in fact, if on the character creator you roll 5 6s in a row in the character creator, then you are born as the Antichrist.
Shit.
So that's the difference in,
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Absolutely great.
I love that so much.
And what else I was going to say? And I remember from the Jugs podcast, it's like if you buy the physical copy to get the character sheets, like the character sheet has this cool thing, like you bifold it, and that allows you to line up gear grids and stats, which is really cool. But also, I think you said that the character sheets are perforated on the form, so you sign who's joined the guild, and then you take the character sheet off. And
so the idea of that is you end up with a receipt stub of your characters, and there's a little how they died section on the stub, so you can write in how they died, which is one great for just having this sort of memento mori type, little flick book of going through and being like, oh, this person's dead. But also in the setting, the end times are here. So the gates of hell are closed. And after the 7-day pilgrimage to hell, souls come back. So it means that your GM has this handy note of sort of how previous gravediggers died, so that they can come up with various undead that you might meet.
Excellent. And that also resonated with me because again, with Kingdom Death, like one of my first playthroughs of Kingdom Death was I kept the character sheets of everyone that fucking died. I had to have a record of what they were, so I knew how to steer people to be better than that. Like, I need this and these combinations. So yeah, that totally resonates with me. That's great. So on top of that, the thing that also stands out, I think, with Doomsong is like it's the life path system is very, there's so many options and combinations. Like, you're never going to get the same characters again very easily. But the actual rule system itself is actually quite simple and feels like it feels kind of, I want to say it's a bit Powered by the Apocalypse, with kind of, things altered a bit to fit your kind of desire, with the fact that you have this Doom coin that again feels very Warhammery in its nature, the Doom coin. So can you kind of give us some insight into why you chose this kind of rule system and the decisions around that?
Well, so like I said earlier, the first adventure was written before the rule system was, which was quite convenient because Jack and I's sort of having worked on IPs, the way in which we designed games was backwards from the experience. So having the experience written out in front of us and trying to work out how that should feel to play, and then reverse engineering what the rule set to play that should look like, is sort of just a really sort of good way to work, because you end up you often have to ask yourself a question that's like, do I love this mechanic because it's a great mechanic, or do I love this mechanic because at the table it's creating the experience? Like I'm trying to GM for a GM who I'm never going to meet, and I need the rules. I need their game to feel right, but I'm never going to meet them, right? So any advice or and even advice gets forgotten, right? So it's got to be baked in. And so one of the things is taking sort of the built-in, interweaving the lore and the rules in a way that just reinforces how the world works is really interesting. So the Doom coin is basically that. So on one side of the Doom coin, you have the skull of a saint, And this represents the dead immortal god who has no power within the world. And on the other side of the Doom coin, you have the crest of one of the traitor gods, who do have power within the world. So their prayers do go answered. And every time you make a check, your result is either equal to, over, or under the difficulty. Very simple. If you're under and you'd like to sort of move up one step to equal to, which is a success with a cost, the actual sort of nitty-gritty of the rules doesn't really matter so much, but you can modify your end result by flipping the Doom coin. And what this means is you sort of just see, is there a dark power who's looking out for me? And you flip the coin, and if it lands skull side up, no, one true god's dead. No one's looking out for you. So your result gets one step worse, which is how you sort of tap into critical failures and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you get the crest of a heretical god, then your result gets one step better. There's also an added twist to the Doom coin that the player who flips it keeps it in front of them. And they are narratively doomed. So like if you imagine a horror film, the spotlight's on them. The camera has started following them. And if the GM, because again, trying to GM a GM that you're never going to meet, horror games have this hiccup where like, I don't want to, I'm actually attached to these characters as well.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill them. Like, and also, so shifting that responsibility from the GM. So one, players don't feel picked on, and two, the GM doesn't feel this burden.
That's really cool.
Crushing their characters. So if the GM ever has to make a hard choice about, who puts their foot in the bear trap or who does the monster attack, they can just look around the table and be like, well, you're doomed.
Yeah.
The monster goes for you. And it's just a very sort of that one component is doing a lot of things that the GM doesn't have to track, right? It's tracking who's pushed their luck the most recently, and therefore they've opted in to being doomed as well. So when they do get killed by the bear, they know it was kind of their fault, right? Which is good. You kind of want players to feel like it was their fault their characters got killed. That feels fairer.
No, that's cool, because I mean I'm quite a proponent of, like, in all these discussions, it's when it comes up with, like, when you see people try and, like, shoehorn D&D to fit like running a cyberpunk game, you're just like, I'm very much a rules matters type person, as in feeling like the rules should help reinforce the tone and mood and what the game is, the intention of the game is. And I would say, for all of its other ills, with respect to like Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition, one of the strong points I think is its hunger dice, because that always reinforces on players. There's a reason you're going to fuck up, because you've been pushing things and you've got hungry, and that's why you punch them too hard and they don't have a head anymore. Like, again, those are really those type of feedback loops and tangible ways of how the rules interact are really good. So I really appreciate what the coin flip does. And it's also cool because it also opens up the opportunity, because of how the difficulty of rolls. It means that even if it's mathematically possible on the dice for you to get that result, the Doom coin can actually even push up a fail into just a success, and that's a cool thing in its own right. You were like, I don't even care if I'm going to get critical. I just want it to go up one, because I can't even have a chance in hell of achieving that with my dice and modifiers as it is. So that's really cool. It just has that nice pushing your luck kind of element to it.
It's a good weighty object as well. Like it's an artifact on the table. We actually had them all cursed. I mean, I had to curse them. Just because I thought
was it by an Etsy witch or something like that?
Kind of, actually. There is a local witch that lives just over she has an office just over the road from us.
Excellent.
Good, support your local witch.
Michael, Crystal, any other comments on the rule systems or anything else in there that you wanted to bring up?
No, like in horror games, I love a tension mechanic, and the Doom coin is like perfect for that, because not only does the players intentionally take it, to try and press their luck, but it gives that when is that shoe going to drop feeling.
Yeah, you took the cursed coin.
Yep. I love mechanics like that. So yeah, with mechanics and stuff, I don't have any other questions. You went through everything. So
Well, I think just this is more of a comment than really a question. It can kind of lead into a question, but one of the things I really liked about Doomsong was that in today's day and age, where a lot of RPGs have a lot of proprietary materials, it felt like the things that make Doomsong unique, like that folded character sheet, the Doom coin, etc., were all things that you can just find coins everywhere. You can just print off your own character sheet, fold it, and have it just like the one you could also buy. So I really appreciate that accessibility and how it also lends to the fact that, hey, you could get the official Doom coin, which is pretty awesome, and you want that as well. So I just, as kind of a comment, I thought that was a good balance that you guys struck.
That was a like a conscious, during design type thing. This idea of like not doing custom dice and not putting a barrier in the way. Like we are sort of also very aware that the thing we're making is a deluxe product, which is in its own way a little bit of a barrier for some people. Because we could just make a softback version, but I think like in every way we want the GM to feel like they're being sucked into the world that they're running, and having a sort of a tome sat in front of them like a holy book is a kind of important vibe setting thing. I guess you guys all read it on PDF though, right? So
yeah. But I mean, even in PDF form, because again, I think even in PDF, it still comes across, because obviously because of the layout and design of it. It feels like it does feel like those like other premium kind of like indie RPGs that, but at least I feel compared to others, you also didn't steer too hard into where graphic design took over, that you go like, it's pretty but quite hard to pass, because that does happen. So I appreciate that you found kind of a nice happy medium in there.
The layout overall is really easy to follow, because that can be a barrier to people. So even though there's a lot of stuff in there, you can still follow along with everything. And like having the pages marked where to find where to go next is so helpful, because my ADHD brain would be like, where is it?
Yeah, I think, and trying to, in the same way as the Doom coin is trying to offload a lot of sort of like pressure on whether or not the GM who should be doomed, whose turn is it to be in the spotlight, that sort of thing. I think at every stage, a core philosophy of our design is trying to take the weight off the GM. What work can we do to make their life easier?
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of just one of the ways in which trying to make the information as easy to get when you need it as possible. There's a whole thing with sort of the creature stat blocks where because combat's done like on a 1 to 6 initiative, if you're running lots of monsters, you can just roll a bunch of D6s and be like, well, that's what they do. Lots of ways in which we can make the GM's job easier so that they can do fun voices. And because the GM's are always going to shovel mountains of their own content into the game, right?
Yeah.
And the more they can do that, the better.
I was going to say with combat, I did like the action dice approach, where you have each player character has 2 action dice, and you assign those to one of 6, things. So again, it's for players that also removes a certain degree of complexity, because obviously not all players are really like tactical combat type people. So just going like, this die means I do this, and generally most actions fall into only a few categories, no matter how flowery your prose is in describing how you do that action. It's generally, do I bash it hard? Do I bash it kind of hard? Do I run? Do I dodge? Things like that. So I really like how the action system works in this. I'm trying to think of some other anything else I spotted with the system. No, I mean the system. I guess again, also the system feels like on a cursory kind of look, it feels accessible and simple in the way that obviously things like Morkborg and similar go for. But I feel that there's a bit more going with it, just rather than just going, we're just going to pull OSR off the shelf and just rinse repeat with flashy graphics. There's actual, I feel, meaningful thought in how to make the system simple but still interesting, both in how it interacts with the players, as you say, to lift weight off what the GM and the player are doing. So I really do appreciate how that's been designed. What's the next questions? Because we're running out of time. We want to talk about the Kickstarter really as well. Like I think from the historical inspirations, I think it's quite clear. Like you said, there's a lot of like medieval literature and mythology and folklore that are clearly baked into the setting. Other key literature and media inspirations or historical inspirations, just as a quick list for people to maybe go look for. We've already said Kingdom Death, and there's a goat in there's a fucking goat antler thing, and I was like, that's the Screaming Antelope. Has to be.
If the Screaming Antelope and the god from the ritual,
yes, had a baby,
baby,
but what other kind of like you say, literature or media inspirations, like kind of like fed into your brain as you were doing the graphics and illustration?
Or well, Morgan's the huge horror movie fan.
Excellent. Same here.
Yes.
All of us. Yeah.
And I think the Ritual is definitely sort of the top of her list of horror movies. I'm a big fan of the Vivitch. I know it's not the Vivitch, but every time the Witch.
The Vivitch, yeah. I've just watched it again recently, yeah.
Really good film. And I sort of went through a long period recently. I can't think of any because recently I've been watching a lot of witch hunting and witchfinder related movies, even if they're not good, because our next book is about witch finding. So it's more investigative than it is than the current adventure is. Trying to get sort of multiple flavors in different adventures. So I would definitely recommend The Witch, although I'm pretty sure no one listening to your podcast hasn't already watched it.
There was something. I'm sure there was something historical-ish that I watched recently. I'll put it in the show notes.
You've seen A Field in England?
That's one with Reece Shearsmith and a bunch of other British actors in going crazy. And then also a good one would be isn't it like there's an episode of Inside Number 9, which is a witch hunter?
I love that episode. Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I do have one thing that I want to hear about, because in the beginning of the book, you actually have the Doomsong, and it was written by somebody who did it. Like, what was your inspiration for including that? I actually don't know who wrote it. I don't recognize the name, but I'm a musician, and so I was like analyzing the theory behind the music before all of this, and I was like, oh, this is really cool.
So the idea behind that was, I always think the first couple of pages of your RPG should ease, if someone's, just to get a bit salesy, if someone's picked it up off a shelf and opened it to the first page, they should sort of be gently dragged in. And so the fact that it's called Doomsong, the idea that there should be a Doomsong in the setting that's like their equivalent of like a song they'd all sing at church on Deus Pontifex, but it itself is kind of telling the sort of start of the setup about how God was murdered, and that sucks. And they're waiting until the last day. So that, like, again, everything should feed back into the setting. And then on the opposite page next to the Doomsong is a and on the end pages of the book is a map of the world that is also a map of the heavens, but also a physical map of how you would go on a pilgrimage from the real world to Empyrean, which is the afterlife. So like this medieval idea that all of those things can be mapped together. They're all physical things. Like the science and the setting, like the world is flat, the heavens do tell the future. Like drinking mercury will cure your wounds. Yeah, so that is Dark Age sort of thinking works.
The map gave me very Mappa Mundi kind of vibes, obviously, from it, which is I've seen in person because it's in Hereford Cathedral, because that's where I grew up. The film I was thinking of, actually, also, which is good for kind of similar vibes. It's not quite medieval. It's a bit later than that. It's called The Damned. That's out recently. Yeah, that's kind of like that would be good if your guild is like at the docks or fishermen or something. Definitely good vibes for that. Right. Let's talk about the Kickstarter then. So the Kickstarter you already teased is about witches, and it's going to be more investigative. So tell us more about that.
Well, in the first adventure, you play as gravediggers in a plague dimension that's kind of the kingdom of one of the border kingdoms. There are 5 border kingdoms. One of them was stolen by pestilence, and you play in that setting, and pestilence in his own domain. So there's a lot of people to bury. The second adventure is in another border kingdom called Cocytus, and everything's fine. It's populated. It's the breadbasket of the all the other parts of Panem rely on Cocytus to provide food. The villain of the second book is Famine, who is our second horseman. And Famine, well, not to spoil the twist, we'll see if you can work it out. There have been several miracles performed in the name of the immortal. And you as witchfinders have to go to the sites of these miracles, and essentially your job is to prove whether or not it's the second coming of the immortal or whether or not there are witches. And as you unravel that mystery, the entire country itself will also unravel. And it's what's really interesting in like getting people to play Witchfinders is that the way they play completely switches, right? Your characters are still made through the character creator, with the exception that at the end, rather than there being a little bit about them becoming gravediggers, there's a little bit about them becoming Witchfinders and sort of what rank as Witchfinders they are. But one of the really interesting things is that gravediggers, you're given a rotting shovel with a wonky head, and a badge, and sent out to go and do your job, and everyone kind of spits on you as you do that. And then you give people the authority of a witchfinder, and you go, well, here's a torch and a fancy hat with a big buckle on it. And suddenly that authority changes people, which is very interesting. Sort of your players who previously would have humbly rolled into town and been like, oh, governor, please spare us please let us sleep on the floor of the inn. Now they walk into the inn and just are like, this is our new headquarters, get out. Which is very fun. Giving them that sort of authority, and also having that authority sort of there is a sort of mechanic's the wrong word, but there's a constant pushing back of sort of you can't throw your weight around too much, or the people will be upset with you, and there's a lot more of them than there are of you. So you're hunting witches because Famine is returning, and if Famine returns and Cocytus falls, then the knock-on effects of that are going to be everyone's pretty hungry for a while. It's got some really interesting... you were talking about the combat system. So there's an adapted version of the combat system for running trials.
Oh, brilliant.
So instead of drawing a weapon, you are presenting evidence. Or, you know, and then later, if someone else makes an accusation, if your evidence ties into that, you're getting bonuses for that. So also... you decide at the beginning of the fight, or trial even, what your roles are. So like one of you gets put in charge of being the defense of the witch, which is like for the witch probably quite aggravating. Like, and I just love the I love the unfairness of like being like, well, I'm sure this guy's a witch, so I'm going to do a terrible job defending him. Like, yeah, so that's a fun new mechanic that we've put in. Because it's about witches, there's a kind of a bunch of new spells and stuff for existing witches. So if you happen to already be a witch, which is permitted within the guilds, you're allowed to be a witch as long as you're serving the guilds.
Sanctioned psyker, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're a penitent. But one other player is given the keys to your chains. So that's already a sort of relationship that you have to, work out. Yeah. I'm trying to think of any other fun. I think the funnest mechanic that we've implemented is that there's a candle that we've had sculpted by Alex from Warp Miniatures.
Okay.
And the candle is an in-universe object that exists in the adventure, but it's also a physical thing that you can buy, or you can just set a timer. And the candle, when lit physically at the gaming table, will transport the party to a sort of overlapping dimension, which is Famine's personal kind of sort of playground, where it's the dimension that's bleeding in as Famine gets more control over the land, but sort of you can get around very quickly. You can learn things about Famine while you're there, but the candle is tracking in real time how long you can be in the Nui Nog, which is kind of this witch dimension. But also the candle has steps sort of molded into the candle so that you can see, and the actual design on the candle is a sort of play a hint to the conspiracy that is going on. And as it burns down to the different levels, the Famine's dimension changes. Mm-hmm. So it's mapped onto real time, which is a really interesting way of getting players to like be a bit more frantic and like, let's do this. Yeah.
Wicked. That sounds fantastic.
So what I'm hearing is that we need to fly everybody to one location for our podcast to do a game with the candle.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that is a good point. Digitally, it is a bit of a challenge. Although maybe, with Chris's background there, he could light it, and they're all just kind of squinting like, is it still going? I don't know. I think it's dying.
It gets its own camera. It's just going to get its own camera.
Oh, genius.
It's quite an explosive shelf Chris has behind him. I wouldn't trust lighting it.
They shouldn't be there. It's everything else that's behind me, yeah. No, it sounds fantastic. I mean, I think, I think it's definitely everything we've spoken about with Doomsong and obviously the Kickstarter as well. It's like, it's definitely the type of game which I feel will also be the type of game that I think my partner will enjoy as well, because there are certain RPGs that are definitely not her jam, and of ones that definitely are, and I think this falls into that category with how complex and not with the rules. I think, going for something that's more investigative is really cool, and having mechanics specifically for that is really sweet. So when the Kickstarter, as of recording right now, that's in a few weeks' time, is it? That it goes
It's Tuesday.
Oh, it's actually Tuesday. So when this goes out, I will edit, I will see if I've got time, literally tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
To edit this, and then hopefully we'll get it out in time for that. It shouldn't be too difficult. There's not too much to edit out of this. And I guess... let me think as well. What other things are there kind of you can reveal about the Kickstarter? I mean, I guess there are levels that people can get the original game, including the new stuff. And
yeah, so we've organized it into kind of we've bundled things together. The pledge levels are like get one of the 3 books, get one of the 3 bundles. So each book comes with like if you get the famine book, which is Thou Shalt Not Suffer the Witch. I don't think I've said the title of the book. So if you get the Thou Shalt Not Suffer the Witch bundle, then you're getting the candle. You're getting the map, which is an amazing cloth map that I have finished illustrating. That has
I saw you ironing them on social media or something. You were ironing them, yeah.
Ironing that, yeah. So for the first Kickstarter, we had to iron and hem all of the edges of hundreds of maps. Yes, because if you get the other bundle, the Lord Have Mercy Upon Us bundle, which is the plague one, then you'll get the candle, not the candle, sorry, the map for that game, and a miniature that was sculpted by Andrew May, which is also a little Doom coin holder. So even if you don't play miniatures, like the villain of the piece can stand there holding your Doom coin throughout the game. And then there's the core book bundle that's got the core book and the diary and all the cool stuff there. And then there's a bundle for everything. If you're completely new to it and you want to just dive in and like get everything, then that is also available.
Cool. Any last questions from Michael Crystal?
No, not really.
No, I gotta go look at my bank account now.
I know, right? I have a convention next week. Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm allocating something from when I get paid for my writing.
No, it's actually funny because my for the next Warhammer the Old World campaign we're doing for the miniatures game, I'm actually doing a witch hunter themed empire list. So I've been reading up on Matthew Hopkins, Witchfinder General, and that kind of stuff.
Who was not a witchfinder.
What?
Matthew Hopkins was not a witchfinder. He was a sociopath that hated women.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I understand that.
As in,
not a good person.
The witch trials were happening, and he decided to just go out and burn women. He was at no point ever an actual witchfinder. He just went from town to town telling people he was a witchfinder and burning people. Like, not a witchfinder. Lunatic.
Indeed. But suffice it to say, this expansion is very well timed for me, and definitely is going to give me some extra inspiration. So I'm really amped for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the zone for this. I think it's definitely on our list of things that we mostly want to do as a streamed game at some point in the style that we've been doing our deep dives.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because Cult is a lot of fun. I don't know if we're going to do some more of that. I think there might be some more of that. So yeah, definitely doing this, even as a break in between of different things, will be a lot of fun. I think that's really everything. We covered a lot there. I think the other thing I will just say is like, I think the great thing about this book is like there's so much setting material in there and how you reference between different parts of the setting, as Crystal noted out, like if you were looking like at a particular flower, it'll then relate it to a particular monster or how it works into certain rituals. There's a lot of cross-referencing in there to understand the setting, and a lot of the book is just setting material. There's the rules are actually quite concise and everything. So I really do appreciate for that as well. There's a lot to dig into.
Yeah, it's definitely simple to start, and then
yes,
if you sort of level up, or it kind of unfolds in an interesting way. And I think the lore does a similar thing. In like the game tries to put the easy end of the thin end of the wedge first, right? Like it's very simple to get into, and then you start like, oh, now I can do this. Power.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think that's everything. So thank you again, Chris, for coming on and talk to us about Doomsong, talk about the upcoming Kickstarter. I'm sure it will do wonderfully, and bag you even more trophies for the coming cycle of when that happens. It's just, and thank you again, Crystal and Mike, for coming on and asking questions and being insightful and having read it as well, because there was a lot to read at short notice for it. Obviously, if they want to find out more, Chris, about Doomsong, where can they go? What wonderful website or social media do you have?
Well, you can follow us on Instagram. That's mostly just cool pictures of whatever we're working on. We do have a Blue Skies account as well. We have a website where you can just buy the books and download the Character Creator app, or just the free demo. There's like a 100-page free playable demo, which comes with an adventure from the book we're kickstarting on the website. That's Caesar.inc. And what else do we do? Oh, we have a Kickstarter page as well.
Yeah. And all those will be in the show notes that people can click on the webpage for this episode. Then if people want to get in contact with us, it's darkerdaysradio@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Blue Sky, and obviously if you want to talk more about it and ask other questions about this and other games and other things that we do for Darker Days Radio, we have a Discord which will be linked in the show notes as well. I think that's everything. I can't think of anything more. Nope, that was good. So again, thank you, Chris, and thank you everyone else for coming on, and thank you everyone at home listening. And we'll be back with another episode of either a deep dive or Realm of Fire or another game that we'll review. We've got a lot of stuff still to review. There's Warhammer books we need to review, for God's sake, like about dwarves and fucking elves and stuff. Not dwarves, fucking elves. That's a different game.
That's a whole other genre there. That's a horror genre, not the one that we generally cover.
No.
Let's hope they don't delve too deep and too greedily. Eh?
And that is it. So I will leave it there. So goodbye for now.
This has been an episode of Darker Days Radio. Special thanks to Occam's Laser for the intro, outro, and new bumper music from their hit album, 9 Circles. Check out the rest of their work at occamslaser.bandcamp.com.